All right, and welcome to Forgotten Popcorn, where we talk about movies that have made us forget eating our popcorn. Today I'm here with Alex and Will. My name is Alvaro, and we're talking about Joker 2019.
Yes, fantastic movie.
How do we
I-
want to start this one off? Alvaro, when did you first watch it?
Oh man, I saw this in theaters, and it was one of the first movies that I think I saw like by myself that like I truly remember watching fully, and I fully got my popcorn, small, medium popcorn, small drink. I remember exactly. Sat all the way in the back. I didn't eat a single bit of it. It was so good, so good. I literally left the theater, ran to my parents and my brother, and I was like, "You guys have to watch this movie." We all came like. I convinced my brother, convinced my family. We all went to rewatch it. Saw it 3 times in theaters. I'm pretty sure it was so good.
Man.
Yeah. What about you guys?
Oh, I remember we were 10, 15 minutes late to the showing. So the whole
Shit.
opening scene where he's
Yeah.
missed the whole thing, had no clue it even happened. Had to go the next day, be like, so what was the opening Joker scene? And I saw it, I was like,
really?
Yeah.
missing that in theaters. It killed me. But no, obviously a fantastic movie. It was very good in theaters, especially. Big crowd, and yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, it was a while ago that I watched it. It was like
I mean, it's
I
4 years
watched
old
it
at this
pretty
point.
like I didn't watch it like I watched it maybe a month after it released. Like I didn't go immediately. I knew about it. Obviously, who didn't know about it?
Yeah.
I mean, you release a title like that's named after such an iconic villain, played by many iconic actors,
yes.
which we'll get into, I'm sure. And it's just I remember I saw it with a friend. I didn't see it alone, but I remember like feeling like just even though I was with people, it still felt like really like weirdly connected, and like it kind of messed with me for like maybe a couple of days after. I was thinking about it a lot, and like at one point I had like the script printed out and stuff like that, and I was like reading through it, and like I had a pretty like once it came out digitally, I had like a really in-depth analysis of it, like obsessed with it
just
almost.
a
It
bit
was crazy.
obsessive.
Yeah, it was a little bit much.
I can't say I had the same reaction as that though. I can't say it stuck with me for the next couple days after or anything. I kind of watched it. I was like, wow, amazing, obviously. But I don't know, it kind of just like fizzled out in my head.
I was just like Alex, man.
Yeah?
I literally, as soon as I watched it, I went home and I was like, damn, I gotta do some research on this film. I was researching like a bunch of different little things, and I was like trying to convince just everybody I knew to go watch it, because I mean, it's such an amazing film, you know? Like, I mean, obviously it's like a psychological kind of film, right?
Yeah.
But it's definitely a film that I feel like everybody just has to watch at least once.
At one point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I personally like, because big driving factor behind it was this like huge controversy in the news that was happening at the time. Just like everybody was so concerned for like what the movie was reflecting and what the like it thought it was trying to portray and what he was trying to portray. It was really weird because it was like this battle between like just like your modern outlets being like almost scared of the message that like it's trying to convey throughout it. And it's very obvious. It's not a complicated movie necessarily. It's not a thinker necessarily, which is fine. It's
Not every movie has to be
yeah.
a thinker. Like.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to feel like you're in a film studies class. But it's just one of those movies you can come back and watch it again, and you like it's just a good 2 hours, and you're like, that was well spent.
Honestly, when I was watching it last time, it didn't really feel that long. Like I knew it was 2 hours, but like I don't know, an hour and a half in, I was like, whoa, already? Like, okay, interesting. I thought it would be like not drag on, but it didn't feel like 2 hours at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, me too. Like I saw it last night, like 12 at midnight.
Literally
and, like,
a couple hours ago.
Yeah, a couple hours ago, and it just went by so fast. All of a sudden, I looked at the clock, and it was like 2 a.m., and I was like, oh my god, where did the time go? It's such a good movie. You just throw yourself in it, and you're not leaving until the end.
Nah, exactly.
Oh,
So
100%,
good,
yeah.
so good. I mean, like, I just saw it last, but when was the last time you saw it?
Saw it 2 days ago, and I had watched it a couple months before that when you lent me the DVD.
Mhm.
And I remember watching it. The time I watched it recently, I was in preparation for this, and I didn't really pay attention necessarily because I'd seen it so many times. So I was like, who cares, right? Like I'll just make notes, and I've the time you gave me the DVD though, that was a really interesting experience because it had been quite a few, I want to say years since I've seen it. and I almost feel like I didn't notice things that I noticed before. So it was like I was surprised by some of it. And maybe it's just because my tastes have changed a little bit and I've sort of grown as somebody who's watched more and more movies. So I've noticed more detail and stuff like that. But like, I don't know. I'll say this. I'll start with the first controversial thing of this episode. I find Todd Phillips, he's a good director. I think he'll probably do well for the, for Joker 2. But this movie isn't like... It's very simple filmmaking from him, and it works for this context. But if you really like just like genuinely watching, that's not saying like, oh, I know movies so well and it should have been more complicated and more in depth. Like that's not what I'm saying. I'm just mean like the techniques that were used and like your symbolism and everything like that was just very poignant and it was very obvious and
been done a million times
before. So there wasn't anything I found that was like, oh wow, that's so unique to this particular movie, which is fine.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's one of the notes I've written down actually is like, I just wrote like inconsistent. Because some parts are so like top tier, then some like in the second act, some parts I was like, okay, like kind of missed the spot here. The script there, the dialogue, like would have changed a couple things. But like, of course, great filmmaker, like War Dogs. Mwah.
Yeah.
Beautiful movie.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, like, I'm pretty sure Todd Phillips is... Like most of his movies are more comedy, right?
Oh yeah, he's the three hangovers.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I mean, I feel like this is definitely like breaking out of his comfort zone.
For sure.
But he did such an amazing job breaking out of the comfort zone for a movie like this. I think he did a really good job. Because you kind of also have to think like if we're talking about somebody that's done movies like this very similarly, then kind of get down to the nitty gritty, like what's happening. Okay, maybe this guy missed some stuff here or there. But like if he's definitely going from comedy movies to something like this. Big challenge, and he did an amazing job. I find, especially coming in like that.
Yeah, I don't know if like anybody else would have necessarily done for a director that specifically is known for superhero movies. If you picked one of those, I'm not sure they would have even done a good job regardless. I feel like even back when this movie came out, you still had your Marvel movies coming out that were still a little bit they're not as cheesy as they are now, but they were getting there. So it would have not have been as impactful if I'm terrible thing to say, but in reality Disney and all of that and Marvel and everything, they've really changed the way the scope of how superhero movies are perceived. So this isn't a superhero movie, but it falls within the same category, right? So you still you're in the same storyline and everything like that. But I still think he's really good, did a really good job. I actually found out that what did I write here? Oh yeah, Scorsese was actually really close to being the director for this, which is I felt like you knew that. Yeah,
I did not know that. That's sick.
So apparently, because him and Todd Phillips, they share an agent, and so the script was passed around between him and anybody else who was interested, but apparently legitimately he was very close to being the one for it, and he ultimately just said no, I'm not going to do it. It wasn't really they didn't decide.
No, it was Scorsese who said I don't really have time for this. Good idea, but let someone else do it.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine though, I'm sure he would have taken it to another level, and I'm sure I wouldn't be saying what I said about simple filmmaking. It would have been much more Scorsese about it. So I don't know. I don't know if I would have enjoyed that more because...
I mean, Todd Phillips did take a bunch of Scorsese into him, right?
For sure.
Took Taxi Driver, for example,
exactly.
and it's such a great way of seeing how a character, for example, the psychology of a character and seeing their up and downs and seeing how they really break. I feel like Todd Phillips definitely grabbed that a lot from Taxi Driver, like a Scorsese classic, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like if Scorsese would have done it, he might have for sure done a different way to it. Exactly like you said, for sure would have seen
3 hours.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, no, it would have definitely.
Oh man, yeah. But there was another film that Scorsese did that was definitely an impact for this one. I remember Will, you were telling me about it before.
The King of Comedy. There's so many parts of it where it's exactly the same movie. Honestly, Joker is Taxi Driver meets King of Comedy. That's all it is. So that's why if Scorsese would have done Joker, maybe it would have been completely different.
Yeah, maybe.
Would he base it off of two of his almost best movies?
Probably not.
I don't think so. No. I think he would have tried to do something a bit different or move away from the not the stereotype, but the things he's already done.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Especially if like he's never worked in that sort of atmosphere,
Like the
in
comic
the
book,
comic book.
yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be completely different for him, and I'm sure he would have tried to push the envelope on something new, and I would have been great actually.
I'm really interested to know like what it would have looked like. But
Yeah. I mean, apparently, like he lived like 4 years. He was thinking about it. That's what I read.
yeah.
Like
Wow.
He
4
was linked for
years.
4 years.
Like that's insane. Like that's a lot of time to be like. That's like you're legitimately living with the script at that point. Because like there's a lot of directors who get the script like maybe in a year in advance, and they'll be like, yeah, this is good, and I'll work on it or whatever. Some even don't even get the luxury of that. They get like even less time, you know. But like 4 years is like you're almost a like producer at that point, you know.
Oh,
And
actually, is he listed?
I don't think he is. I know Bradley Cooper is, which is yeah. I'm 99% sure.
What?
Yeah, I saw it in the credits and I was like, what? Like why? Like, it was so random.
Just as a producer? Or?
Yeah, as a producer, yeah. I don't think he touched the film at all in any capacity, but I think I remember reading or watching an interview about it. Don't remember his exact capacity for just his involvement, but I think he was a big advocate for it, and I think that's why he got the credit for it. Essentially, they were just like, "We want to make this." He's like, "You should," and then yeah,
Nice.
so they did. It's great.
I feel like, because I mean, one of Todd Phillips' main things for making this movie was that he had to have Joaquin Phoenix, right? He had to have him, which is like huge, right? I mean, like I don't know if Scorsese would have gone the same way.
The thing.
That's the thing, right?
You
I mean,
see DiCaprio as
Probably.
probably,
Probably.
yeah. Like we joke about it, but for
It's
sure,
his golden boy.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all directors have their golden boy, so
Yeah,
it wouldn't be
exactly.
surprising if I don't know.
Imagine DiCaprio playing the Joker though.
Yeah, like
Oh man, that'd be interesting.
that'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same movie though. Like there's no way. Like as much as I said, I go back to calling him a simple filmmaker, but like in reality, you pick anybody else and like they would have done something to try to be unique. And like there are certain directors who can pull it off, and like whatever their vision is, it works.
Yeah.
But there are certain filmmakers who try to be unique and try different styles and try new things that just flat out don't work at all, and they just it ruins it. And the story is just as simple as the filmmaking in a sense, and I think the two combined is what really drives home like how easy it is to watch this movie, and like it's okay that it's like on the nose the entire time. It's fine.
I mean, like I think because of the simplicity of it, it just allowed for such a like big amount of people to be able to watch it, even though it is R-rated like movie. It just like there's some people that are definitely out there that don't watch too many movies, that are not like super adept into like analyzing these movies. So like as soon as you have a simple movie about a character that a lot of people know about, especially since Heath like portrayed him in The Dark Knight, it became hugely popular, right?
Yeah.
Especially once you have something like that, that's a character that big. When you see it on the big film and you understand it, you want to tell everybody about it, right? It's like, come see this like performance about this character.
Especially since
loves.
Joaquin's performance is like,
Yeah.
Heath, Joaquin. I don't know. I don't want to pick one, but I might put Joaquin. I don't know.
All right, yeah, let's get into that then.
Yeah?
Let's just
All
do
right,
it now.
let's
Why
do it.
not? I think honestly, you can't compare it because it's just two very different atmospheres.
thing.
It's like comparing the Nolan Batmans to, wow, I'm blanking on the director for the Batman.
Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves,
Yeah,
that's it. You
It's
can't compare
completely different. It's true.
the two because they're very different, and like some do things better than the others. Like Matt Reeves' version is very, very true to the comic book. The atmosphere of that Gotham is unrivaled. I think Nolan's first Batman was very much on par with that. But anyways, getting away from joke here. But anyways, it's just I've completely blanked. I got so distracted.
Heath and Joaquin.
Yes, Heath and yes. So I don't know. I find their two performances are very different, and do I remember reading something about their screen time? I think they were. I mean, obviously,
I know what you're talking about.
Like, obviously, because a lot of the things about the whole Joker persona and everything about all the actors who take it on is how much screen time they actually end up having, and it's a big part of it. Because I mean, this is a whole independent movie to the character itself. So I mean, you can't really compare it to
No, exactly.
your other DC related Batman and Joker rivalries. Jesus. So I don't know. What do you guys like?
For me, honestly, I'm with you on that. There's no clear winner. Like I feel like they're just
it's pure preference what
Yeah.
you preferred in their performances and honestly the movie itself at the end of the day. Like
exactly, because like I mean, like I was telling you earlier, Will. Like I mean, Heath Ledger's 100% an amazing actor, right? Like he's incredible. He did performance of a lifetime on there.
Yeah.
And pretty much like the way he portrayed the Joker, he kind of portrayed him as like a methodical planner. There we go. As a methodical planner, as like in the sense that he was just thinking like 20 steps ahead of everybody else in that movie, you know?
Absolutely.
But when you look at Joaquin's on his side, he's very sympathetic Joker. Like you kind of like feel bad for him at sometimes, right? I mean, like especially throughout the beginning of the film, you're like,
he has it rough.
Yeah, he definitely has it rough.
God.
Like
Absolutely.
he's got like mental problems. He's losing out on his job. He's getting beat up. That's like literally the first scene in the movie.
Exactly.
Like what's going on, you know? But definitely amazingly portrayed in both different ways. I find there just can't be a winner. There just can't be a winner.
I think Jared Leto did the best.
Okay.
I think that's another.
Just
That's another
chuck the grenade
thing
in there.
We'll just stop that
skip
one right there. No, I think the main difference is you were talking screen time. Heath Ledger obviously had a lot less screen time than Joaquin, but the impact he has with so much less screen time is what would maybe like shoot him above for me. Because like let's say he's on the screen 20 minutes and like his performance is that remembered still compared to Joaquin who has a full 2 hours to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah, and like another thing that like this cast list is pretty good for Joker. A lot of really big names, you know, De Niro and Zazie Beetz is relatively popular.
She's starting. She's on the rise. Still,
she's on the rise. You know, after Deadpool and everything like that. And then Frances Conroy is very well known, not necessarily for movies, but for her TV show 6 Feet Under. So, you know, and the entire list goes on. I mean, there's some really good actors in it, and it's. I didn't really think about it much, but I watched a lot of Nolan recently, and you know, watching the cast list of who he puts in his movies, he doesn't care how big you are. He just throws you in if you're going to do a good job.
Yeah, exactly.
And for Heath to, you know, show up and like just be better than like
Ben Affleck,
Bale, better than
wrong Batman. Oh no.
Yeah. So better than Bale, better than Michael Caine. You know, and it's like it's insane. It's an achievement. It really is.
And you're definitely looking at someone that I'm pretty sure used to do only like, well, not only, but mostly like romance films too, right?
Pretty much. Yeah.
He was going from romance films
That's
to
true,
something like this. Huge jump.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Absolutely.
Oh my god, incredible! I mean, every single time I feel like we see the Joker on film, it's just a performance to see, right? I mean, like you're definitely looking at you know, like Joker right now. You're looking at The Dark Knight, and then the old Batman films with
Jack Nicholson.
Exactly. I completely blanked his name. I knew I was gonna need help, but like every single time, it's a performance to see. It's like everybody portrays him in a completely different way.
Yeah,
it's such a complex.
Even
character.
in the animated Batmans, like Mark Hamill, the
Mark
voice.
Hamill,
Oh my god,
so good.
it's phenomenal.
So good.
I don't know how they do it. Joker's always top tier,
he's
no
always
matter
so
what
good.
the media is. Like,
Yeah, he's absolutely.
In terms of the music in this movie, I found it something that really put it above a couple of other portrays of Joker. I mean, like the Dark Knight music is 100% incredible.
of course.
But Hildur, I can't pronounce her last name.
Not even gonna try.
I'll give it a go. Gwynadatir.
All right,
I guarantee you that's wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
She did an incredible job. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure she even wrote the music before like even seeing the films or before like even filming the scenes.
Whoa,
Excuse me.
that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Like especially for where I'm pretty sure it was the bathroom scene. That's I feel like the most. Well, in my opinion, whenever I think of the Joker, that's the first song that just comes to my head, or like the first like the score that comes to my head, right?
Absolutely.
And apparently they even filmed like Joaquin Phoenix was the whole scene was supposed to be completely different.
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to go in, jump, throw the gun on the side, wash his face, and be like, kind of realize what he just did by killing those 3 Wall Street like guys.
Mm-hmm.
But he kind of like, Todd Phillips actually played the music in the background. So then Joaquin kind of like was like, okay, hey, this is kind of like inspiration. Then he kind of put it in his earphones, and he was like, you know what? I'm going for it. Yeah. And then he pretty much just said, you know what? This is going to be your new thing. Like they changed the whole script just for it because Joaquin really felt the music in him and just started doing those movements, which created that iconic scene where you really see him go from Arthur to like Joker, really like his personality.
Absolutely,
like, and I feel like it was all thanks to the music. Like Hildur did an amazing job. Amazing. So
absolutely
good. Yeah.
One of the notes I wrote down, I just wrote, "Holy shit, the score is insane." Did not remember it being this nutty because I was like, "Wow!" Like I just had in my headphones like blasting, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, it's an experience. It's really really great. Yeah, I mean, as a huge fan of any score that it prominently defines our lovely cello here as one who plays as well. It was actually, interestingly, it was very close to when I first started playing, so it was very fun to see it become like just a little brief history of orchestra. It's just that front and center stage is usually piano and violin. Those are usually the top of the orchestra. And then your cello and everything else is usually just your filler in a sense, which is fine. But it's within the musical sphere, there's a lot of change going on, and different instruments are getting their time to sort of show how wide of range it is. And the cello is known for its range in matching the human voice. So it's a really unique instrument for that matter. I wrote here that the bathroom scene is at 86 beats per minute, which is pretty slow, so it's not danceable music, which makes it even more awkward when Joaquin is able to pull off this weird slow like molasses like movements, and it feels very like as a viewer you go from rush, and especially leading up to that bathroom scene, your heart's racing, you're just and then it dies, and to go from, let's say we were at like 1:30 watching the train scene, and then him finishing off the last guy as he tries to escape, and then into the bathroom, you drop down to 86, which is, from my research, is in the middle of that sort of your resting heart rate, which should be around 50-60 to like 100 is like sort of within the healthy diagnosis according to whatever articles. But 86 is a really interesting thing because a lot of composers are aware of that, very, very aware of that. And they understand how the human body reacts to certain music. And Hans Zimmer is very well known for Interstellar. A lot of the big pieces in that are very well, planned out because of the recognition of how we react to music. And I'm really glad we're talking about this because like scores don't get enough credit. They really don't. We all know the big names and everything like that, and I'm really glad there are more, composers becoming more well recognized around the world for their work. And last note on it, I guess it's G sharp and A flat minor. It has to be minor for that because it conveys sadness, right? It's a slower tempo, so it can't be major. The nearing the end of it, there's a score. There's a lot of ups and downs in this movie, so you go from like slower 86 for bathroom dance, and then it gets as high as 168, which is pretty high. That's pretty intense. Just a fun little fact, if you want to compare that to, let's say, Oppenheimer, as we've all seen it, Can You Hear the Music score? Just a quick little just to explain, really push home, like 168 is a lot, but that score goes up to, I believe, 230, which is insane.
Damn.
And it's all done by every score in any movie is usually done by legitimate musicians. So to pull off 220, 230, and even 168 is pushing it sometimes. It's not easy. And then the scores even drop as low as 68 beats per minute. So the emphasis is of like sort of dropping from really high to really low is just I could talk about the score for so long. Like it's just so good.
It definitely plays with your emotions as you're watching it. Like definitely that's where you're watching it. You're saying not just what you're seeing, but what you're hearing definitely affects your mood.
Absolutely.
Right? It's incredible. I mean, like you said, composers don't get enough like credit for definitely playing with your emotions before even like seeing anything. And I feel like in one way that they do people do recognize the music in movies, especially in horror films. I find.
Oh yeah.
Like you know when you hear the eerie music, as soon as you walk into the room, you kind of feel that eeriness inside. It's definitely very well portrayed in horror films. But like when you're seeing such an epic film like this, when you're seeing and you're hearing like that whole change in your emotion, it's crazy. It's crazy, and they do it so well, amazingly. And like you said, Hildur, Ludwig, and Hans. Oh my God! Right now, I think they're probably one of the best composers for music right now.
Yeah,
she also did Tar. I don't know if you guys saw Tar.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. I have that in my notes.
That was her too, and I
Tar.
saw that. I was like, oh my God, it makes so much sense now.
Yes, yes, exactly. That's what I thought. So, oh yeah, that
how
makes so much
grand the
sense.
score is, and how like just like
Yeah,
just takes you in fully. It's ridiculous.
Did you know she was actually making like Chernobyl and Joker at the same
that's
time?
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know it was
That's
at the same
right.
time.
At the same time. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
just a bit busy, I
that's
guess.
just a little busy.
Nah, whatever. It's another weekend.
Two significant scores. It's fine.
Nah,
You're-
no
you're
big deal. No
fine.
big deal.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Music is definitely insane. I mean, especially in this movie when they're I don't know if you guys remember the Rock and Roll Part 2 song. That's pretty much the one that's playing when Joker is fully painted. He's on the stairs
Right. Yeah.
and the two
Yes,
policemen
that-
are on
right,
top.
right.
Yes.
Did you even know that like the singer Gary Glitter is like such an amazing choice of like, well, it's a really good choice of like song because the artist himself kind of like was was jailed for attempted rape, assault, and having sex with a girl that was younger than 13. So it's definitely like somebody that is not fully right on top there.
No, it's-
So
yeah.
like playing a song like that is definitely like, I mean, before I even watched the film, I heard about this song and I thought, hey, that's not like somebody you really want to promote and put in your film. But then when you're watching the movie, you kind of understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It portrays well with like
Makes
Joker's
perfect
character.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so good. I find the musical choice in this movie was amazing. Like choosing the songs to play in there as well as the composing was.
Yeah. I find it really interesting because you don't notice it. I mean, especially like early 2000 and even before that, you wouldn't get a lot of like there'd be like maybe 2 or 3 original scores within it.
Just everything John Williams.
And then
at that point,
pretty
like,
much.
Yeah.
But like you wouldn't get like an entirety of like original scores to fill the entire movie because that's a lot of work. And I get that. And this movie follows that sort of pattern. It mixes in both of them, and it's weird because it's almost like they want us to feel like it's hip in a sense because they use some of these songs and I'm like, yeah, I recognize that song for sure, and like because the era of when it's taking place is sort of. I don't know the exact years of the songs they used. I don't know if they correlate necessarily with the era that the movie's supposed to take place.
Not sure. I do know like the film's supposed to be like 1981 New York.
Okay,
That's-
so
I'm pretty-
it
yeah.
might be because it was some of it was
The
pretty.
only one I can think of is "That's Life" by Sinatra,
Yeah,
which I don't think is
that's-
from the '80s.
No,
but
that was earlier for
I mean,
sure.
other than
Yeah.
that, the others they feel '80s ish.
Definitely. I mean, if not 80s and a bit like older too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Honestly, that would completely make sense, and I could definitely see Todd Phillips like putting the not as like not as a what's it called
An Easter egg.
yeah, not like an Easter egg because apparently he doesn't like Easter eggs, but
okay.
yeah, but it's more so like as a fun fact, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely weird. I mean, he did say he completely hates Easter eggs for any one of his movies, and like
Funny.
if this movie over here, there's deleted cuts. Obviously for every single movie there's deleted scenes. There's different cuts that don't make it into the movie. But Todd Phillips said he's never ever releasing any kind of deleted scene. He's like the movie, the way I took it, that's how it's being seen by everyone else.
Yeah.
You know.
Fair. I'd love to
That's
see those
fine.
scenes, but yeah,
yeah,
fair.
it would be really fun. But
Yeah, there's this one scene in particular that I was like obviously we're not going to find anywhere, but I was very intrigued to see if they were even going to put it in the film. I mean, like not going to put it in the film, but if we were going to see it somewhere, which is basically, I have it here on the notes. He had to cut a scene from the theatrical release to stop the movie from having an N-17 rating. It was crazy because I mean the movies are rated.
yeah,
There was a scene where Arthur is pretty much in his bathtub, and like we don't know what he was doing in the bathtub. All we know is Todd said that it was not for pornographic reasons, but it was honestly just insane. Just insane. That's all. That's pretty much what he said. That's all he says. Like, I'm so curious.
tease.
I want to know,
tease.
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
What a tease. You just want to know what was there. And it's like, oh, there's such amazing parts of the movie that I feel like we're just cut off. I mean, like Joaquin even said there's like one of his favorite scenes filming it, I think, was like when he's speaking to Randall right after getting fired.
Yeah.
That scene was cut and we didn't even know what it was. I mean, honestly, there's always going to be these cut scenes from movies that we're never going to get to see.
Yeah.
But it's always fun talking about them and wondering what if, right?
What if?
Yeah.
What if that was in the
Yeah,
movie?
it would have been really fun to see. But I wonder if, like, do you guys, so like a big topic nowadays I find is like the more movies that come out, they get either longer or they stay just around the 2 hour mark, but not in between, not as much anymore. And this movie falls just over 2 hours, like 2 hours and 2 minutes or something. Do you think that was more of a creative choice to leave it shorter rather than have it longer? Because if you were to include these scenes, other than the one to ruin the rating of the movie, if they were to include it, is it just like, because I feel like some filmmakers would rather push the movie to 3 hours just for the sake of pushing it to 3 hours, and then some really just want to make a good craft, like our lovely Top Gun here. It's like just 2 hours of adrenaline. It's good. It works. And I'm a big advocate for 2 hour movies. I think they should be more,
it's perfect.
More of those, please.
Our movies are perfect.
Yeah.
I honestly find like you have a couple movies that definitely are way too long, but like the directors obviously are making them long for a reason, right? If this movie is 2 hours long, I feel like if you would have added any extra scenes, yes, you might have seen a bit more complexity on the character, maybe seen like some ups and downs on him, or maybe like a backstory on like some characters that we might have wished to have seen a bit more. But like just having the movie as is at 2 hours, I think is perfect. It definitely has a much wider audience that you can definitely reach.
That's what I was gonna say. If you make a 3 hour movie, chances are you're losing like random number, a third of the viewers you'd get in theaters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not everyone wants to go sit down for 3 hours.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely look at the time and I go, ooh, like I don't know if I want to sit there for that long. It's not like, it's not that I don't think it's worth it. Some of them work within the time frame perfectly and they're necessary, but movie going is becoming, I find, a little bit less of like just a here's a way to waste a bit of time and then go do something else. It used to be like, oh, it's raining, I'm gonna quickly jump in the car, go to the theater real quick, watch a 2 hour movie, and maybe the rain will be over and I'll come back home, stuff like that. But now it's like, oh, okay, it's 3 hours long, so I'm gonna like go there, and then okay, well, I can't do anything, like it's at 4 o'clock, I can't do anything for the rest of the night because 3 hours is like the entire movie. Then you have to go home, so it's like it's become more of an excursion to go see a movie, which is fine, but I don't know, maybe my brain is too underdeveloped and I can't handle 3 hours.
I definitely I have, ever since I was a kid, I've loved going to theater. Like for me, it's just been like it's you plan your day and you just go to the movie theater. Like I used to watch, like, we still do it, like watch 2 movies at the same time and stuff like that. But like as a kid, it was definitely like I'd go to school and I'd be like, hey, I watched like 2 movies back to back on the Friday. People would be like, why are you doing that?
You're nuts.
Every time.
But like 12-year-old me was like, holy crap, I love watching all these movies at the same time. But like I can definitely 100% see why like regular Joe would not want to be at the theater for more than like 3 hours at a time. It's like you'd have to plan your whole day to just be in the theater. It's definitely like definitely not a waste of time because you're watching a movie, you're learning so much stuff, but it's for some people you could be doing other things with your day.
Yeah, exactly. To the average Joe, it might seem like a waste of time.
Yeah.
2 hours, fine, okay, I'll do it. 3, forget it. Like there's no point. Yeah,
it's a big deterrent to a lot of people. Like bringing up Oppenheimer again, it's one of those movies that's 3 hours. Even I seeing that and I was like, I really want to see it, obviously, but 3 hours is kind of okay. Like I got to prepare myself for this. And I did the Barbie and I did the Barbenheimer. I did it, but like even then it was like, oh, okay, like I've watched it many times now and 3 hours goes by really quick. But like
how many Alex?
6 times.
How many, Will?
6 times as well.
And you're at
3. I gotta catch up.
But yeah, it's 3 hours is quite the time frame, and you really have to be sure as a filmmaker that that's what you want to do.
Everything in your 3 hours
Yeah.
needs to be there, serves a purpose.
Yeah.
Or else you're gonna lose so many people.
I wonder if like they're contractually obligated to end it at a certain point. Not that not like okay, like it has to be 3 hours and stuff. But like once you hit 2.5 hours, are you allowed to stop right in the middle of 2.5 to 3 hours?
No, exactly.
There are some movies that end at like 250 some odd.
Yeah.
I think the Batman is just around 250.
Yeah, it's not quite 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's,
So I wonder if there's some like agreement that like just for the sake of the way the whole entertainment system works within theaters and within the entire industry, I wonder if there's like that sort of we have to like kind of push it a
like
little bit.
do studios tell directors when they sign on like this can't be more than 2.5? Like do they tell them that? Like,
I'm sure for certain genres, absolutely. Like you're not going to tell somebody who's making a kids movie that
no, of course,
like,
of course. Kids movies, they need to be like hour and a half. Ish.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't have that much insight on that decision making. That's a little bit
That'd be
more
interesting to know though.
Yeah, I'd love to know more about that.
I feel like for Oppenheimer, because it was like a 70 millimeter film. Oh my god, I can't speak. 70 millimeter film. There was, I mean, like when we saw like the reel and everything, there was a limit to how far it could go. So I mean, like for that kind of movie, 100%, there's a 3-hour time limit. You can't really pass that, or else
no IMAX movie will be more than 3 hours, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
they can't support it.
Exactly. No. There's just no support for the actual reels unless they they build different equipments, which at that point is so costly. But for other kind of films, I feel like you said, the 2-hour mark is a perfect kind of mark for like everybody to watch. Yeah. But like between 2.5 and 3 is it's like a lot of people do it, yes, but not many films are definitely. I forgot my train of thought. But not many films between 2.5 and 3 are like are definitely like going to be a big change difference. Like if you're going to the theater, you're seeing a movie that's 2 hours and a half, you're seeing a movie that's 2 hours and 40, 2 hours and 50, you're looking at pretty much the same stuff, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
In your head, you've already planned at least a 3-hour block, right? To get there, grab your stuff and sit down. It's like
exactly
at the end of the day.
All right. So I'll pose this question since we're talking about movies and theaters and everything like that. I took some notes down of the box office. I'm sure you guys know some of the figures, but I want to ask. It's a bit of a quiz, okay? Let's just see. General knowledge.
Let's do this.
All right. So, does anybody know off by hand what the budget was for this movie?
50-ish, right?
55, I think.
5?
Yeah. So, 55 million, and obviously we all know it made $1 billion. Did great. It hit every marker. Yep. It's currently, it was the first ever, obviously, of that rating.
Right, R-rated.
Yeah, R-rated. But it currently sits domestically. It currently actually sits 4th on the list. I believe. What was it? What's at the top? I believe it was Passion of the Christ. Is at the top.
That makes sense.
Yeah, Passion of the Christ is at the top still, but it sits right behind American Sniper, and Deadpool is up there, which is actually pretty impressive. I'll give it that. And apparently Matrix Reloaded is close by. I don't know how.
People watch that movie? Sorry. No idea.
I suffered through it, so. That's it. But yeah, it hit a lot of huge milestones for the industry, and especially for Warner Bros. As well, who seem to constantly be struggling with how they're going to spend their money. Like, it's always hit or miss.
They have no idea what they're doing over there, man.
Yeah, it's scary. All right, and I'm going to tell you guys some movies that were in theaters at the same time within the following weeks of Joker coming out. So The Addams Family came out just before it. Does anybody want to guess what it opened at?
That's the animated one.
That's
right?
the animated one, yeah. Does anybody want to guess what it opened at? I'll tell you the total gross. It ended up grossing $203 million. Does anybody want to guess what it opened at? Because it is a really interesting figure to look at, comparing it to how much Joker opened up to, which I'll share. It's $96 million for Joker. It
opened at 96.
It almost doubled its. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So right before it, Addams Family came out, and it opened at. Anybody want to?
I'm going for 10.
I was gonna say maybe 20, but
Yeah.
now I feel like it's gonna be so
Will
low.
is closer. Yeah, so it opened at 30,
Okay.
which is pretty good.
Low ball.
After you said 10, I saw his reaction. I was like, shit, is it like 5 or something? Like,
No. It did okay. I remember it. It's really interesting to look at all these statistics and really compare them to such a big title like Joker, which could have easily have like. There's always a chance that it just doesn't do well at all,
Oh,
right?
of course,
I mean,
of
like
course.
like any movie.
no, exactly.
And I go back to the whole controversy leading up to it, as people were
The media was
all
destroying it.
around it, which
Yeah.
I think if anything it just fueled the fire more and people wanted to see it.
For sure.
So that's a win
Well,
for
of
them.
course.
I don't really remember seeing a bunch of advertising for it.
I can't. I'm trying to picture the trailer.
I find
I really
like
can't.
R-rated movies usually don't get as much,
No.
Maybe like a
attention.
trailer here or there, but like
Maybe,
that's
yeah.
it, and it's not really promoted too much, is because I think for R-rated trailers, I might be wrong on this, but I think they can only play after a certain time of the night
makes
for
sense.
TV.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my only guess as to
'cause
why
I don't
it
remember
was.
So
seeing it
I
on
never,
TV.
me neither.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew about it because
Yeah.
well versed in all of that. And when you hear a name like Joaquin Phoenix and Joker and like the
Yes,
whole thing
sign
is
me
like,
up straight
yeah,
away.
you wanna see it. So, following Joker's release, the week after Gemini Man came out, it
200,000.
Oh, boy.
actually it
No way, was he close?
no
Okay.
no it I'll tell you this time. I'll tell you what it opened at. It opened at 20 million. Does anybody want to guess what it grossed at?
20 million?
Honestly, probably.
No.
No, it didn't. It's not very good.
I was gonna say less than 100.
Yeah.
No, it actually did 173.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, all these numbers depend on like sort of how long it's been in theaters.
Of course, yeah.
Most of them end up just around the 2 months mark anyways. Very few movies past that. I mean, it's an interesting fact because I was actually looking up the box office and I was finding it for Joker. There was actually a re-release in 2022 and it was only it wasn't a re-release, it was just a release in another country that I guess never got the opportunity to have it, I guess, or I don't really know the context for it necessarily, but I'm trying to find the exact figure before I mess it up.
It was in the Middle East, right?
Yeah, it was in the Middle East. It opened in the in November of 2022, United Arab Emirates, and it grossed $12,000.
Let's go.
Like years after the movie.
Just throwing in an extra little 12,000.
Yeah, just a couple. Yeah, just a little paycheck for Joaquin and walks away. Following Gemini Man, we had Parasite coming out. Now I don't have the grossing numbers for Parasite because I believe it was a bit of a mixed release, especially for a foreign movie, so it wasn't as like prominent. I mean, it grossed 258 million, which is
Should've
actually
made so much
ridiculous
more, but
how
yeah.
low it was. I think
My God.
Parasite really took off after the Oscars. It benefited from that. So
Okay.
yeah, it was a huge win for them. And then the last movie of October was Maleficent, which is your Disney movies
Oh,
there.
Yeah.
So that
With
probably made a good
Angelina
amount, right?
Jolie, I believe it is. Yeah.
exactly.
So that opened at 36 million. You want to guess how much it totaled?
It's Disney, so I'm gonna go in the.
I'm going 400.
I'm gonna say 600.
You guys are like met in the middle. It's 491.
Okay,
So
okay.
it did well. It's a Disney, obviously.
Yeah, it's
And
Disney.
I heard good things about it. It was relatively well received. But yeah, I find it so fun to just like have more context of like what was happening during that particular month.
yeah.
I mean, you can go through the entire year. There's many great titles. But that particular month was I wouldn't say it was super competitive. I mean, it's easy to say Parasite was a competitive movie to it,
You
but it
can't,
really
though.
didn't.
Yeah, no.
It wasn't the same effect.
At the time, you can't say it was a competitor.
Yeah, it's not like releasing your Marvel movie next to it. That would have been something else. I guess the biggest competitor was literally the Addams Family because that was the closest. It was like the week before, and that really didn't do much. And they're all different genres too, and different age gaps. So they're like, I guess technically the closest in age would be Gemini Man, considering a title that actually released and properly distributed. I don't know. Box office, it killed it. It did well. I don't know the figures for its digital release. I don't know if it was that high. It might have done well. I mean, it's no Top Gun that broke every record, but I mean, I'll look it up while we continue to talk here. Maybe I can find it quickly.
I mean, for me, I would have thought that like the Addams Family would have been like a huge competitor. I mean, like you think Addams Family, almost everybody knows what
It's
the
a
Addams Family is,
classic.
right? Yeah, it's been out for so long, and especially like an animated film, it's a kids film. Usually, kids films do pretty
They
well.
normally end up performing, yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, for a kids film, you're also thinking like you're not just having, one person going in to watch
It's
it.
the whole family.
It's the whole family, right?
Yeah,
You're looking at either 2 kids, 3 kids, and the parents, and then like cousins, and then it just builds up.
Yeah.
So like for Addams Family to not have done as good as like, that's definitely not something that you would expect for Addams Family. Like 30 million?
That's nothing.
No, that's nothing. Completely nothing.
Yeah, it's pretty like normal to have your like 30 million, 40 million, 50 million openings. It's no Barbie, it's no Oppenheimer with that release that's broke a lot of records. And 2018 was it? Yeah. So it was a pretty stable time for entertainment and for the movie for Hollywood. There was nothing really going on necessarily that would break it, like when the pandemic started.
Yeah.
So
If anything, it was in the peak of like movie theaters at that time.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Endgame was coming out,
Yeah.
Infinity War, like all those. So like people were just going
Exactly.
to the theaters, just go.
yeah, absolutely. So it's really interesting to see that like it was such a great release for Todd Phillips and for Warner Bros. Obviously, and yeah, to do 96 million in your opening weekend on realistically on a pretty risky bet in a sense, because like your own IP for like one character, although a very iconic character, still risky because you just never know, right?
Yeah,
Especially with that like battle between who's the better Joker and stuff like that. So you never know, right?
They could have received so much backlash, but he stuck it. He was good. He
absolutely.
knew he was gonna be fine. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's a phenomenal actor. He's done a lot of amazing films. He rarely misses. Maybe once in a while there's a bit of a dud, but like even his duds are like still very well received, and he doesn't turn in a bad performance, and he's super humble too, which is like really nice. I remember
so
like
down to earth.
Yeah, watching him, I hadn't been invested in an actor winning an award I followed through all of the awards, and I really just like if he didn't win Best Actor, I don't know what I would have done, honestly.
Who else was nominated that year?
Ooh, that's a really good question. He was up against some okay names. It wasn't. I think he was up against Leo, wasn't he? No, maybe he just thanked Leo in the speech. But
I feel like Matthew McConaughey was it. I don't know. I just like
possible.
randomly picture Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, it's a really he was super humble and really like
His
just
speech,
down to earth.
yeah.
His speech was so good.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's always great when you have an actor who's just like realistic about it. Like you can tell he's like you're Jim Carrey or it's like they're there because they enjoy the craft, but they don't enjoy the Hollywood aspect of it. It doesn't look like that, and that realistic perspective is just really refreshing to see.
Yeah, so that year he was against Leo for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Adam Driver, Marriage Story, which is
okay,
yeah,
great
yes, I
performance.
remember that now.
And then like 2 movies I haven't seen. So Jonathan Pryce, The Two Popes.
I remember the Two Popes being well received. I remember it being,
I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either.
And then the last one was Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory. Yeah,
That seems.
I haven't even heard of that movie.
I didn't even know he was
either.
a part of that. That's cool to see that he was even nominated, actually. But yeah, Adam Driver against that. That's
I was gonna say,
a
like,
close one.
Mhm.
That's really
Leo's good, obviously, but Adam Driver.
No, yeah.
Oof.
Leo's a phenomenal actor on his own right. But yeah, that movie, Marriage Story was huge. It really, as much as the Oscars should really just be straight up about talent, sometimes it just comes down to a little bit of politics, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yes, I hold a grudge about Austin Butler not winning Best Actor, no doubt in my mind, and I'll take it to the grave. But at the end of the day, there's always a chance that like the person who deserves it the most doesn't get it, and that's the reality. It doesn't mean that their performance wasn't worth it, and if anything, people will just look at it more and say, how on earth could you have not have won for this performance, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if come next March and Cillian Murphy doesn't win, I'm gonna say some very bad things. So
No, as of now, he's clear. He's alone as of now.
yeah, it's a really interesting like
Unless Leo
Like-
comes in and completely
he's the
steals
only
it.
one. He's the
right?
only
Killers
one,
of the Flower Moon.
There's
Who knows?
yeah, there's a lot of great releases this summer, but like nothing like not giving it to Ryan Gosling. So like I don't know.
Oh God.
I
Is
mean,
he even
you-
gonna get nominated?
Is he get supporting actor maybe? Yeah,
Maybe.
supporting
Are they
male.
actually gonna give Barbie acting nominations? Like
They might
they're,
give.
they're good
they-
actors. Don't get
yeah.
me wrong, they're great actors. But like for those roles, really, like
I don't know. We'll see.
we'll see.
We're
yeah.
gonna have to see.
when do we usually get the list? January, February?
They
Something
make
like
they
that?
make a short list in like December.
Yeah,
I
they
feel
do, that's
like,
right,
but
yeah.
it's such a big list.
Yeah, it's a list that includes literally everybody.
Yeah, it really does not reveal anything.
All right. I want to ask you guys about the scenes that I think maybe you guys thought were pretty prominent in this movie, and I feel like our list might differentiate. I mean, we have the obvious ones like the bathroom scene and stuff like that, but is there
course,
one
of
in
course.
particular that maybe wasn't like a standout scene, but you thought, oh, that was actually pretty interesting. Like, I like that for whatever reason.
For me, it's two scenes, 100%. Like I'm for sure. I have a feeling one of you guys is definitely thinking of the same scene, but it's the scene at the end when he's talking to De Niro in the show, and he's pretty much saying, like you can definitely see. I don't know. I definitely found Joaquin's performance, especially in that like interview, was phenomenal. I mean, he was amazing
Yeah.
throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like
absolutely.
the subtle little like eye movements and the
Yeah.
like the quivering of
His
the
little
lips,
eye twitch,
yeah, the eye twitch, the kind of like side eye that he's giving like De Niro, and then like the way he was just answering, the way he was like his pitch. Oh my god, insane! It was incredible. That's I think one of my favorite scenes. And then like the second one would probably also have to be when he's like I had a bad day, when he like goes into his not the room, the neighbor's
Oh, yeah.
apartment, and he's
Yeah.
just like,
It's like, yeah.
yeah, you're kind of like you kind of process, and you're like, wait, hold on, he never actually had a relationship with that
He has
woman.
no
Yeah.
clue who he is.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh man, it was a huge shocker. Like that's one of the peak moments when I was sitting. I kind of like sat at the edge of my seat, and I was like, oh my god, what just happened? Right?
Yeah, it was
Oh, that was
phenomenal.
insane. Those for me are two of the biggest scenes that I just honestly like love. Well, not love, but like honestly can't stop thinking about whenever
Yeah.
I watch this movie. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like necessarily a specific scene that I'd say I'd noticed, but I'd say in the first half of the movie, every shot that takes place in his apartment building
Mhm.
is crooked.
Yes.
None of them are level.
Yep. That's right.
So like it shows how like his life is just not together at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
The place he lives in, just not it. And there's also a time where he goes to grab his mail,
Mhm.
and the first shot of him grabbing his mail, it's behind bars.
Yes, that's
So
right.
like slowly hinting at what's coming up,
Yeah.
all the
Mhm.
crime he's gonna get into and all that.
Yeah.
And that happens like fairly early on
oh,
in the
like
movie.
one of the first
Yeah.
scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not like a specific scene. It's just like the apartment
collective.
building, the setting as a whole,
Yeah.
and how they use cinematography to like convey what was coming up and
Yeah.
just more about his life. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
When I noticed that, I paused and I looked at it. I was like, yeah, that's not straight. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's one of those phenomenal little details that you just don't really like
Exactly.
pay attention to immediately, and then you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I love those shots. They're just really good. I mean, his entire acting, but I find like especially reminded me of like the interview at the very end. It's really good because one of the toughest things for actors to portray is like we talk a lot about score and how it conveys emotion, and it's not a cheat code to use it. It's a lending hand to to continue the process of whatever you're trying to say,
It's
right?
just support.
To
That's all
push
it is,
forward
yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
invoke it quicker for the audience, right? But in that interview, it's you can't even notice anything being played, and honestly, this could just be me forgetting already. But I'm pretty sure there wasn't anything
I'm
being
pretty
played.
sure.
I can't say
I don't
there
think it
is.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with zero help, he still managed to just just engulf this like insane reaction of the audience, just wanting to almost curl up inside your own skin and just be like, why is this happening? You know why it's happening, but you're just like, I don't want to watch this,
Exactly.
So it's like really well portrayed. And another scene that draws upon the same themes is when he goes to the hospital and finds the document from his about his childhood trauma and everything like that. and then he sits in the stairwell and reads through it, and they start do a little bit of flashback stuff. There is a bit of music in it, but it's not very prevalent. It's very much him, and then that laughter is, I legitimately, like, my stomach curled on itself. Like, it's the laugh. We could talk about the laugh for like ever. It's so unique and so different to any other portray of Joker. This one isn't even like, it's not cartoon like, it's not even human like. It's very much like this laughter is of somebody who's been abused, has had trauma, and like has severe issues that he cannot figure out and clearly never will. So it's just, that scene, like, I forgot about it, and when I watched it recently, it made me like just sick almost. It was so well done. I love it.
Talking about his laugh, I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's kind of like 3 different laughs that he has throughout the film. Yeah. There's like, I cannot like I'm not about to start trying to
picturing them like, can I do it? Nope.
But like there's the one where he's like trying to show that he's like socially acceptable, right? The one where it's like a fake laugh in front of buddies, in front of friends. He's just trying to be socially acceptable. The other one where he's like completely like lost it, right? Completely gone, completely doesn't understand what's happening, just like laughing. And then the other one is more kind of like his own laugh. Right. And his own laugh kind of really starts peaking in towards the end. Yeah. Like, you know, when he makes his own jokes kind of stuff. And he, towards the end, when he's, I believe he's smoking the cigarette with the social worker at the end. And he does kind of like a laugh, kind of like saying like, I forgot what he's saying.
You wouldn't get it or whatever.
Yeah, you wouldn't get it.
But why are you laughing?
Yeah, why are you laughing? You wouldn't
get it.
Yeah, so that kind of laugh is like his real laugh. And there's like 3 different laughs throughout. He uses them like differently a bit. But like, if you really pay attention, I was like noticing like, hey, wait. That's different. That's a bit different. That's a bit different there, but it's like all the same kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, they're so unique in their own way, and like it reminds me of that another scene I wrote down is like I love, like, I'm such a huge like advocate. Again, going back to Oppenheimer, like the dead silence, like it's just like you know. That particular instance, you know, I notice it more and more, and like it's really well done by Todd Phillips and everybody who worked on it to really just like drive home the laughter, how like important it is to the character, and it really is its own like it's its own piece of dialogue because he changes it every time.
Yeah.
And there's a scene when he's in the club and he's taking notes and whatever, and he's laughing to the comedic or the comic who's on stage, but it's offbeat. From everybody, and and that sort of ties into your obvious, like, you know, he's not, maybe he's there, maybe he's not, which is really interesting, and I didn't pick up on it the first few times I watched it, but I've caught onto it, and one of those laughs, which I'm sure you guys know it, but like there's one that he's literally, because it's based off of a legitimate condition, and and he did the research and he did the work to figure it out. He's a very respected, you know, method actor. I mean, he's not nuts, but he's up there. He's up there. He's up there. His that laugh that I'm thinking of is, it's just this like gasp and choke for air because it's uncontrollable.
And you see him
and
like
you
grabbing.
could see it.
Yeah.
So it just that like feeling, and you could feel it as you're watching, and you're like, oh boy, like even I want to like try to grasp for air right now, and I'm fine. Yeah. So
but
like,
something that's interesting about that is, he's mostly choking on his laugh early on in the movie.
Yeah.
As the movie goes on, as he becomes more and more, not like more and more insane, but like as he becomes more and more into the Joker, he learns to kind of like, I don't want to say control it.
Well, he accepts it.
He accepts it, and then he starts using it like for him, and not just, I can't control it, I'm laughing. Yeah. He really ends up like, you fully see the transformation from how this is hurting to just accept like let it out. I'm the Joker, and boom.
Yeah, it's like he's fighting, trying to be like normal, and then like he just finally says, forget it, like it doesn't matter anymore, and he just descends into darkness, which is fantastic.
Socially acceptable citizen.
Yes,
of Gotham City.
Honestly, in the role of Gotham, he's very socially accepted. Honestly,
but like I honestly, I feel like we could just talk about Joaquin the whole time. Yeah. There's one more thing I wanted to point out that I really noticed about him and his acting is, there was this, I don't know if you guys really found on it, but like I really started like noticing it, especially watching it last night. But kind of like his laugh, there's like different kind of points to his laugh where you're like, hey, that's a bit different. If you really, have you guys noticed when he was writing, he writes with different hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So like when he's a bit more like sane or a bit more like socially acceptable, he's kind of writing with his right hand, and his writing's like kind of normal.
Okay.
But then when he's writing with his left hand, and you kind of also see his left hand is with like kind of like Joker side. That's the same hand he uses to like kill the Wall Street people. That's the same hand he uses like to write down notes, not at the club, for example.
But like his journal that he gives to the social worker at the start.
Yeah. So like when he's writing, they don't show exactly like when he writes down the like people walk all over me, like stuff like that. That one. But when he is writing like his notes after, I believe, a date or something like that, he's like sitting on the side in the kitchen, I think.
Oh
and
yeah.
He's writing
Yeah.
down notes.
Yes.
You can see his writing on his left hand is like crooked writing.
Yes. It's like big font too, and everything.
And it's like it's about himself. It's like deep in and like either destroying his own personality or like something that's like obviously not going his way. But it was definitely not helping him, and he was writing with his left hand. And it's like I found he was just such a I don't know if it was the director's way of doing it or if it was Joaquin, but like you definitely see his left hand is like kind of like Joker, I found, and like his right hand was just himself.
You just blew my mind. I did not catch that at all.
Yeah, I not the journal part I did catch, but not the rest of it. Not the Wall Street guys. None of that. Like that, I didn't pay attention to. That's a really interesting detail.
Yeah, and then like after once he's already like pretty much like off the meds and everything, right before he he does like the stair scene.
Yeah.
He's what was it? Randall and Coyle, I think his name was, like the other guy.
Yeah.
They're in his apartment and he like kills Randall. But he kills Randall now with the right hand, kind of like showing he's now Joker, right? I don't know. It was something that I thought, because like throughout the whole movie, the left hand was like his like mentally unstable side, but his right hand was like his stable side. But then
it switches, but like the right hand just like joins the left.
Yeah, pretty much. Then like his right hand is his acceptable side for him. I don't know. That's
so interesting.
That's something crazy. I caught on. I was like, I think that's kind of what he was going for.
I'm pretty sure he smokes cigarettes with his left hand.
Exactly.
Now that you mention it, it's kind of like maybe a way of like suppressing the Joker in him at the start.
Maybe.
I'm picturing when he's about to walk out on the talk show and like the curtains there.
Yeah.
He's smoking with the left hand. That's the hand. That's what I'm noticing right now. So
exactly.
Was it like that for the rest?
He was like holding it kind of like before like they open the curtains. I'm kind of doing the pose right now.
Yeah.
But like he was holding the cigarette with his left hand. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure when he does like kill De Niro, he uses his left hand as well. I may be mistaken, but he goes like that, right?
Very possible. Yeah. Those are like those details that like.
All right, time to rewatch it.
Yes, pop the disc in. Let's go. But yeah, that's so. I love that. That's fantastic. I find you bring up him killing Randall and he leaves his friend to survive, and I find that's like, as much as Joker is in this movie is its own character, and they took its own sort of creative decisions to create that persona. I think that particular moment is sort of a chance for like Todd Phillips to kind of connect maybe like all the Jokers. So like what I mean is that like Joker's always been, we said it earlier, he's always like 20 steps ahead, smart, like almost calculated in a sense, but not always. And sometimes he just creates chaos. And that's his thing. He doesn't care about necessarily killing people for the sake of killing them. He just wants to create havoc and chaos. You go back to Dark Knight and the boat scene, the ending, he even says it, I'm pretty sure. He says something along the lines of that and about, creating chaos. He says it in the room with Harvey Dent. He says something like, he's like, I'm an agent of chaos or something like that. That's what he says. So, just him leaving, I wrote here it's Gary is his friend's name.
That makes sense. I thought it was Coyle. I don't know why.
Maybe that was his clown name. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think I just messed it up.
Maybe, I don't know. But he leaves Coyle, Gary, to survive. When in reality he could just like, because even when he tries to leave, he's like, can you open the door?
Yeah, I was gonna say hilarious scene.
The best part of it, Yeah, even your darkest movies have to have some release,
The little kiss on the head. All right, you
can
go now.
Yeah, because that's like, that was a phenomenal like 10 seconds of cinema, because it's so well done. It goes from like intense to just like, I can't even open the door because I can't reach it, and then like even as he's letting him leave, it's still that like is he gonna do it? Like he
Yeah.
still has the opportunity to do it.
The gun's
And
right
it's
there,
Like,
like-
yeah,
Yeah.
he could just get rid of him, and it wouldn't be that. But he lets him go, and it's just absolute chaos. And then you almost feel sympathetic in a sense, because like in reality, he's just this like broken soul who's
Yeah.
just like can't control anything, and it's like it's a great contrast to reality, to life. So it's I love it. It's fantastic.
Amazing.
I'm just curious, real quick, you guys, what did you guys rate it?
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yes.
I'm just curious.
Before you guys, I have more quizzes. Okay.
okay.
Oh, here we go.
So I took down all the ratings and I
we
put
go.
my own. But all right. So I took the three big systems that you can rate on: Letterboxd, RT score, Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Sorry, and then IMDb. So Letterboxd. What do you guys think the average rating is for it?
I know what it is, so I'm not.
Okay. I'll let you guess if you haven't seen it.
I'm assuming it's probably gonna be like maybe it's got to be a 4 at least.
Okay.
At least has to be a
Before
4.
I reveal it, I'll ask you what the audience score and the critic score from Rotten Tomatoes
Oh.
was. What do you guys think that's labeled at?
Go first. Go ahead.
I want to say the audience. Oh, would critics be higher? I'll say audience score of like 78, critics of 86. I feel like critics would have loved it.
You said 78 for audience and 86 for critics.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna go for audience like a 92, and
going
for
really high.
critics I'm going like an 89.
Ooh,
So, Rotten Tomatoes system is broken. First of all,
Yeah,
just want to point that
terrible.
out.
The
There's a
worst
huge,
website
there's a
to look
great
at.
video essay about it and how most of the ratings are not ratings of the general audience. It's more for the catered audience.
Mhm.
So it's based off of who the movie's made for, not
Nah,
the entire
I absolutely
public. It's
hate
broken.
Rotten Tomatoes.
But I put it in there because it's always fun to talk about
Of
it. Critic score 69%.
Whoa,
Damn.
Shocker. Who
Wow.
would've
funny
thought?
number.
Yeah.
But whoa.
And then the audience was 88%.
88.
So you were close, 92, 88. Yeah. So it's
Wow.
really
Yeah.
well.
I knew the audience was definitely gonna like put it very high up. Like the critics, I definitely thought it was gonna be much higher. I mean, it definitely
Yeah.
won like 2 Oscars for. I mean, was it 2 or more?
It won.
I know this music, best actor.
Yeah, I think that's it.
That's it, right?
Might have won costume. It might have won costume actually, or set design, or whatever that is.
I mean, I figured with 2 Academy wins, I thought
It
you know
should
the
be
critics
higher,
would have
but,
been
like,
would have put it higher.
Yeah, so it's
Keep
2
going back to the
Oscars.
whole controversy leading up to it, right? So critics
That's
are
true.
very, they're
follow
supposed
the
to-
media.
Yeah, they follow the media.
Yeah.
And that's what sucks. It's too bad. IMDb, just to finish it off, it was an 8.4 out of 10. And then Letterboxd was 3.8. So you said 4, 3.8. It's Letterboxd is probably the hardest scoring system of any of them because it legitimately does take everybody into account. And it's the ratings are usually all over the place. And sometimes I read through the comments on like some of the reviews, and when they're lower, they're really funny to read because some of the reviews come in like years and years and after the movies come out, and they're completely off base. And they're the thing a lot about movie going and movie watching, especially if you go back to a title that came out, let's say 20 years ago. Well, let's even push it even further. It was like 30 years ago or 40 years ago. You have to take into context the history and where the world was at the time. And you can't really look at it at a lens from a present day view necessarily. You can in ways, but you can't use that as your main argument because it's not fair to the way the movie was made at the time.
Exactly.
I
Like,
mean,
let's say the movie Alien, right?
right, yeah.
I told my friend I was watching it, and he told me, "Oh, why it looks terrible." And I looked
Yeah.
at him and I was like, it's from,
Always,
like, what,
yeah.
79, like 1979, that movie.
Yeah.
What do you mean it looks terrible? It looks awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
It was still holds up.
no, exactly. You
Yeah.
can't take today's standards for something like CGI and visual effects and apply it
That
to a
should
movie
never-
from like the 70s.
Of course not. I mean, like
Come on.
their practical effects for that movie were still incredible.
Yeah, they're absolutely
The
insane.
Alien is a practical effect.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Like, wow.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
absurd.
It's a different kind of like movie experience,
No,
right? I mean, like
exactly.
you as the watcher can 100% tell when something, well, not 100%, but most of the time you can tell when something was done like in person, and then
Yeah.
another time you can tell when it's done like CGI.
Yep.
Top Gun is the most perfect example. It's like,
all CGI.
oh yeah. So like 100%, everybody watching that feels in the movie, you know, and like
Yeah.
something like Alien, I feel like you 100% feel like you're like
of
in the
course.
movie,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, it's a completely different movie, yes,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
you definitely feel like with the music, the
No, exactly.
acting, the silence in the movie is really well, I found, in Alien. But it's such an amazing movie.
Yeah.
All that to say, two completely different eras. You can't
Yeah.
be like, oh, we're in 2023 now. This movie from the 80s is bad because it looks bad. It's like,
No,
no,
yeah,
you
it's
can't do
ridiculous.
that. Like,
Yeah, it really, like, I bring that up because, like, I watched a few months ago, I watched A Beautiful Mind, and I had never seen it, and I really did want to end up seeing it because it's considered one of those movies that you just have to watch at some point.
Really
As much as I hate that term, I think it's a little ridiculous, but I watched it and I enjoyed it. I loved it. I was very real, which I love about movies. If it can really strike a chord with just this like sympathetic and realistic thing that could happen in anybody's life, that's really where movies hit home for me. And I read a comment and they were like, it's reviewed recently, like 2023 sometime or whatever, and they're like, yeah, this is really just like one of those movies that's like Oscar bait, and like that's the only reason why it's highly regarded. And I was like, you're gonna make me really mad.
like, oh, okay, buddy.
I was like, that's ridiculous. And I clicked on their profile and then I berated. No, I'm kidding. No, it's just like, don't do that, people. By the way, but no, it's like, yeah, it's just comments like that. And I read more of them, and there's very similar, like, oh, it's clearly an Oscar movie, and it's like, but like even if it is an Oscar bait movie, it's still a good movie.
Yeah.
Like, point finale, it's like, anyways, it's just so yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, before I get really unhinged,
Couldn't agree more.
Before I become Joker, let me just move on here. So yeah, Letterboxd, I rated it at 4.5. No, I've rated it at 4.
Okay.
Just for anybody who doesn't use Letterboxd, I hope you do. That's out of 5 for this rating. So it's pretty much up there.
Yeah, I gave it a 4.5.
4.5.
4.5.
Okay.
I find compared to you guys, my ratings are a bit higher. I don't know. I tend to
Yeah.
rate them a
Possible.
bit lenient.
Yeah, a little
I don't
bit,
know.
but it's
It's just for me. It's in my like. I feel like I haven't made a top 25, but it's got to be in the top 25 for me.
easily, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting you say that because before watching it like 2 days ago for this, I had it. So I have Letterboxd and I have like my own spreadsheet where I have like more accurate ratings. So I had it at a 4.5 on Letterboxd and a 90 out of 100 for my spreadsheet, which put it in the number 25 in my top 100 list.
There you go.
But now I dropped it to an 86 from a 90. So I put it down to a 4 out of 5 Letterboxd, and it went down to 61
Whoa.
in my top 100. That's
Wow.
why it's funny that you say like, oh, it's probably my top 25 because it
Yeah.
was for me, not anymore.
Wow. Well, what
That's
changed your
insane.
mind?
I don't know. I was just watching it and I was like, obviously phenomenal movie, but I was like 4.5. And I started looking at like all the other 4.5s I gave, and I was like, maybe not. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe like I wrote in my review on Letterboxd, like maybe I was in a weird mood, and I just felt like hating on it for some reason.
Yeah.
Could be that,
It's
yeah.
like I'll definitely rewatch it and like make another opinion, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, definitely after the podcast, I kind of want to watch it again, even though I just watched it. Like
yeah,
last night.
exactly. Yeah.
No.
I'll wait a bit. I'll
No.
wait a bit, like
Yeah.
let it simmer, and
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
see like in a year or something.
Yeah, we'll do a review of our review.
A review of a review.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It's my scoring system is pretty lax. Although I am very critical of certain types of movies, especially when it comes to superhero movies. I'm a little bit more like, there are good superhero movies that do actually say something that's not just for the sake of flashy lights. And
Yeah.
not to say that's not a good thing. It's totally fine. And if that's what you want to watch, by all means, like, have fun watching it. And that's perfectly normal. But sometimes I just want to, like, there should be some message, at least something. And that's, going back to Disney and Marvel and how much they've changed. That's one thing that Marvel did really well in the earlier phase, like beginning. Iron Man comes to mind. It's just,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
those ones I rated high because they just really do hit home, and they do well at what they're supposed to do.
No, that's why I use the words movie and film. Like obviously you can interchange them.
interchange.
I use them in two completely different ways. To me, a movie is like shut your brain off, just have fun.
Okay,
A film is something that like actually has something to say. Like
that's
it's almost like Scorsese saying like Marvel movies aren't cinema. Right?
Yeah,
He uses the word
okay.
cinema.
That's
Yeah.
true.
To me, it's
yeah,
like
that's the same
movie and
thing.
film. So like to me, this Joker is a film, but a movie like Blue Beetle, which I just watched in theaters,
Oh, yeah, I saw that
that's
too.
a movie because
That
you
is a
just shut
movie.
your brain off. There's like
Yeah.
It's actually really funny because Blue Beetle very much reminds me of the early Marvel. Like
A bit,
it
yeah.
follows the same formulas.
Yeah.
And not to say that's bad, but I still gave it like a 2-star just because it was too similar. And I was like, I've seen this before.
It's so
like
cookie cutter.
10 years ago, so why am I watching it again? Not to say it wasn't good. I loved it. It was a great enjoying.
It's entertaining.
It's entertaining, but like as we sound very snobby right now.
Of course.
But the reason I just bring it up is because yes, you were talking about, you say that your ratings are much more generous in a sense than our ratings would be. Of course, everybody's differentiates, and that's fine. I think what we as a group are really good at is allowing for multiple opinions regardless of whether or not it's worth it or not. Like if I walked in here and said Oppenheimer is the worst movie I've ever seen, I'm sure you guys would let me talk. Of course,
No.
there'd be
I don't know if I
the door's there.
Yeah,
It's all
it's
good.
a huge argument, but I'm sure like you guys would be very much. And I bring that up because to anybody who is watching or listening, feel free to ever just state your opinion on whether or not what we're saying is resonating with you, because our opinions are going to be extremely different. We may seem like we're agreeing, and I'm sure at some point we'll come across a movie that we disagree on, and that will be very fun. But feel free to say that Joker was the worst movie you've ever seen for whatever reasons they are, and I'd love to read them, and hopefully maybe one day we'll come back and do a quick little catch up and read through them.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm very excited to like see people's comments, see everybody's reactions, because this is, our first podcast, our first session.
Episode 1.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to see what you guys think. So definitely comment down below, or send us a message or anything like that about what you think we could be doing differently, or what you thought about the movie. Just to finish it off, I guess, since we are talking about Joker, and we do have the second Joker coming up pretty soon. Folie,
It's like a year
Deux.
from now.
Yeah, exactly, with Lady Gaga.
Yep.
Starring. I kind of wanted to hear what your expectations for the next movie were.
Oh, I don't know. I hope it's going to be a bit more lighthearted, this one. That's what I'm hoping for.
It probably will be.
Because I heard it might be I don't want to say it will be a musical.
It is a musical.
Pretty sure it's a musical.
Definitely a musical.
It's like a full-on musical?
I don't know if it's going to be a full-on musical, but I'm pretty sure it's as close as you can get. Like, it's not like Mamma Mia type thing necessarily, but it's almost like... I took some pretty good notes for this because Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix, obviously Lady Gaga knows how to sing, there's no doubt, but Joaquin Phoenix very much knows how to as well.
Johnny Cash.
Yes, exactly. Yes, he did Walk the Line, which is very highly regarded, and he did a phenomenal job in that.
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting to see these two go head to head. I don't know if Lady Gaga's done necessarily singing in many of her appearances. We all know she did House of Gucci, which she was very well regarded in. A lot of people talked a lot about it. I haven't either, but from what I've heard, she was very much respected in it, and people thought, because it's always hard for musicians to break into acting, because there's a lot of controversy whether or not they really deserve to be there, and they just use their status to get into it, which is very true for her. It's a valid thing. But you really do have to do well regardless, because they will shoot you out regardless if you are a big name or not. So I'm very excited to see it in a sense, just because it's been a very long time, 5 years since will be 5 years since the initial release. Does anybody want to guess what the budget is for this new one though?
So we said it was 55 for the first,
55
right?
for the first.
For sure it's higher.
Do I dare say 100? Yeah.
Who knows?
I think it might be 100.
Oh yes, and Brendan Gleeson is in the movie as well, which I don't know what he's going to play. Yes, I'm very excited to see what I actually don't know much of DC like in detail, so I actually don't know what type of villain I'm assuming he'll play.
We've seen like basically all the DC Batman knowledge that I have in this movie. The Waynes, Joker.
I'm curious.
I have a feeling. I have heard, like, I was looking online about the second one, and I did hear apparently like speculation that it might be Two-Face.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I can see that. I can see it. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. I'm definitely very excited to see them kind of like, because for me, I have this one guess for the movie. Okay,
Go for it.
We're speaking way before the movie has even come out, right? Yeah. My guess for the movie, okay, it might. Spoilers ahead, I guess. I don't fucking know.
If he gets this right, we're gonna put a spoiler warning.
But okay, so you know how the neighbor was Arthur's figment of like his imagination and
Right.
everything, the
Yeah.
whole relationship. I have a feeling that Harley Quinn or Lady Gaga is gonna be a whole figment of his imagination.
Very
Oh.
possible. It's very possible.
I'm throwing that out there. That's my throw.
That's a pretty good throw. That's going for the touchdown because honestly, I don't see him if they continue. Obviously, they will be continuing the same character arc. I don't see a scenario really where he does end up meeting Harley Quinn
Like,
necessarily,
actually
like
meeting?
naturally within the same. Let's say it even starts off from where it ended. But that's the big thing about this movie is that the first Joker is that we actually don't even know necessarily if everything we saw was true to
It
what
fully
actually happened because
Yeah.
he's not a trustworthy narrator.
Of course.
You just don't know, because like his entire persona is just like false. Seeing this, seeing that, fake girlfriend there and whatever. So it's like we don't know where it ended, right? Because he leaves the final scene, killing, the
Yeah.
doctor, the
Social worker,
worker, yeah.
The bloody shoes.
And
there.
so like we
Mhm.
don't know like what's real. And then like even early on it cuts to with the other social worker asking, she asked him why he was there, why does he think he was locked up for a bit or whatever.
Yeah.
And then
in
it
the
cuts to him like destroying his head,
Yeah.
which is genius. But yeah, it's like it cuts to that, so you kind of wonder if that's like cutting to present time or is that cutting to because there's a lot of that throughout the movie. I don't know, so we'll see.
You just
beginning. Yeah.
What if that scene of him banging his head is like
It's
now
like
in
now.
Joker 2?
Yeah,
definitely a possibility.
Very
I mean,
possible. Yeah.
like just by the fact of him saying at the end, like there's this one line that really stuck with me because I thought to myself, oh, it's the you wouldn't get it. The you wouldn't get it with the laugh.
yeah.
To me, it kind of just also like the first time I watched it, when I heard that, I was like, wait, did I just watch the whole movie and it was like a figment of his imagination?
Yeah.
I just didn't get it.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
like obviously he's not telling the social worker, right? He's like the whole thing is just a figment of his imagination.
Yeah.
That would be very interesting.
Yeah, like I mean, like you said, he's a very untrustworthy like narrator, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like the main character is definitely
No idea what's real.
Exactly.
I mean, it
exactly.
happens, all over the place, right? He envisions himself with Murray as a father figure, stuff
Oh,
like that. So
that's
it's
it.
like you don't even know, and and then even at the end of the movie, he gets into a car crash and survives. I mean, even it's a movie, but like,
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah.
like let's
It's
be
a
realistic
rough
here.
crash.
Yeah.
as
That's a
well,
pretty
man.
yeah.
That ambulance was coming in hot.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. So yeah, we just have no idea until we see the next movie. Quickly back to the budget. What do you guys think it is?
I'll stick to about 100.
I'm saying 150.
Yeah, it's 150.
150?
Supposedly 150. We always don't know the exact
Yeah.
one, but it's
That's
estimated around.
100 million more. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 3 times as much as the first movie, which is just absurd. I mean, deservedly so. It makes
Yeah.
sense, but there's some big names in there. You got to pay them, and it's going to be a lot. If it is a musical, set production is going to be nuts. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm very scared and excited at the same time to
Big
see
budget
this.
doesn't necessarily mean
No, it
better
never
movie,
does,
right?
right? Yeah.
They can
Yeah.
completely shit the bed with it.
I mean, 150 is it's up there for Warner as well.
And
Yeah, it's up there.
the average superhero movie nowadays is what, like 200?
pretty much.
Ish? 200,
I think.
250?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pushing it. Yeah,
So,
it's,
like, that's with all the CGI and visual effects that comes with
oh
it.
yeah.
In
I mean,
this,
there's definitely
not
going to be
much.
some. There was. I mean, you can't create Gotham necessarily without
Oh, of
cheating
course.
because I mean, there's only so much you can do, unless you're Christopher Nolan, where you just create your own set. But like,
Yeah, just do what you want.
that's a lot
Yeah.
of work.
And I'm pretty sure there was only like 2 or 3 CGI scenes. I was looking online. A couple people said different things, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
from what I could see, I mean, 100% it was the
there's like the opening
asylum,
shot.
the
and
opening
then-
shot, and the asylum when he's going to get the papers. Right?
Yeah,
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 Those
yeah.
were 100%.
Yeah, you have to.
CGI.
Just how else are you
No,
gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do, and that's okay. It's used well. Even Top Gun
Yeah.
has its CGI shots, but they're not like
so few.
they're not. They're used to just fill in a space in your mind. Essentially, they're not the prominent thing that you're looking at, so you don't notice it. Yeah, sorry, there's a fly in front of my face. It's very interesting what I was saying. Yeah, I think we've covered everything today, and I think we're prepared for our next excursion. We're gonna go to Top Gun. Is that what we're pushing for?
I believe
Top
so.
Gun
yeah.
Maverick.
I think we should set it in stone so nobody forgets. Next episode is going to be Top Gun. It's going to be a fun one. We might have to try to see if we can get somewhere in theater. I wish it came back. I always missed the opportunity to see it in the moving D-box seats. Unfortunately, I've constantly just never showed up to it.
Saw
Sorry,
it
Alex.
twice in theaters.
Yeah.
Didn't do D-Box a single time.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. It was amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Really.
I mean, I gotta be honest because it was honestly like an incredible watch. But I'll save it for the next episode.
Yeah.
Everyone, thanks for listening, and don't forget to keep eating your popcorn.
Subscribe.